Welcome back, players. It's your 6th and final week of the Whole Life Challenge. This week's mobility challenge is called Roll to be Whole. We're going to be doing a rolling exercise that integrates shoulder movements into the whole body. We haven't actually done an isolated shoulder mobility drill for the last 6 weeks, but the things we're going to be doing today with the role model balls and also the motion-based mobility drills hopefully will help you feel the relationship between this shoulder girdle and your trunk. So we'll start by doing our check-in, which is a check-in you did a few weeks ago. It's that oblique test, that oblique reach test. So you lay down in the corpse pose and you'll take your right arm and cross across, reaching as far down the left side of your thigh as you possibly can, activating both the internal and external abdominal obliques. So it's the external from the right side of the body towards that left pubic bone, and it's the left internal obliques along the left side of your waist. Oi. All right, and then you come down. This is in real time, folks. This is real agony for me to try to get this going. And then reaching down. And as per usual, I have more rotation going towards the left than I do towards the right. And there you have it. So our first movement uses either the alpha ball or the plus ball, or you could use your yoga tune-up ball on a block. But this is a release for a muscle called the pec minor and the pec major. So your pec major covers a lot of your chest. The pec minor is much deeper and it connects a portion of your scapula onto your rib cage. But you'll be getting them both with this release. So where do you place the ball? You'll place it in what I call the bikini overhang. So it's the interface between where your rib cage meets your shoulder. So it's not on your shoulder, but it is actually on the rib cage portion below the collarbone. So you'll lay down and place your body weight on top, and you can do this with the plus or the alpha. I really like to do this with the alpha. And either turn your head out of the way, or you can rest your head face down on the palm. And then you'll start to draw swim strokes in slow motion on the floor with the arm. And so this will take the shoulder through some dynamic ranges, reaching the hand up towards the sky, sliding the arm back behind you, giving a thumbs up, and traveling through, opening the palm, attempting to lift the arm off the ground, internally rotating and sliding the arm down. So I'm just playing around with different movements of the shoulder, and then stop the movements of the shoulder and then give it a little bit of torso movement so that the shoulder and the ball are being passively shifted around by the rocking of your rib cage. And then try the other side. So I'll show you some other ideas here. And this is very much about experimenting with keeping the ball in this location and attempting to, hello ball, move out of the way, attempting to explore all of the possibilities of movement that are available to you in this laying flat on the ground position. By the way, this can also be done leaning against the wall, especially in a door jamb. Your arm and shoulder will have a lot more experimentation that they can do because there won't be a floor in the way. But I always like to give myself limitations to try to uncover or detail different regions. And for me, it builds my creativity, and it always comes up with really interesting modifications for myself or for different students. So now I'm just doing a little bit of rocking and then adding something in here we call pin and spin. So the ball can stay stationary, the body stays stationary, and then it's my opposite hand spinning the ball, twisting the skin, the superficial fascia and the deep fascia, and gathering those tissues and then breathing into them. Great. So all of this just to try to unkink some of the commonly held tension in the front of the chest. So the next movement is called snow angel arms, and this happens in super slow motion. Super slow motion.
So when we think of mobility, it's the body's ability to move at each and every one of its joints. The language of the joints is called articulation. And this very much is an articulation of the glenohumeral joint. That's the actual joint where the shoulder meets the arm bone, rather the humerus meets the scapula, but also a movement of the scapula on the rib cage, the scapulothoracic joint. And then lastly, also movement of the collarbone where it meets the sternoclavicular joint. And so we get the snow angel arms by imagining that your hands are attached to like puppet strings, that your arms are a marionette, and the puppet strings cross your arms across your body, so far so that they overcross the chest and fall to the floor. And then they make their way up your face. Now this is going to ultimately make me silence my mouth, but I'm going to cheat it for you so you can still hear me. But you want to let the arms heavily traction across your face, removing your makeup and making your hair a mess. And then continuing in the circle in slow motion. The one thing to keep in mind here is that with each revolution, you want to have a different arm underneath. Well, let's see if I can remember which arm I had underneath. I have no idea. I think it was this one. Anyway, arms super heavy, moving in slow motion, overcrossing the arms and allowing the heavy arms to actually traction your facial skin and your facial fascia, which will actually give your face a massage. It's incredibly relaxing if you're doing this correctly. So you can do this 3 to 5 times through, and I'm going to do one more. And by the way, I'm doing these fast. I want you to do these even slower. So this might take you up to 8 minutes to do 4 rounds, about 2 minutes per round. Well, let's see. There we go. That looks about right. And then crossing across. Now that should, number one, relax you and also vastly improve your range of motion. You'd be shocked if you went and did some pressing after you did that, or some hanging or handstands at your range of motion. All right. The next movement is called, I frequently call this Rollover and Dead, and it's a rolling pattern. It's a whole body rolling pattern inspired by a woman named Susan Klein, who developed a dance method called the release technique. But what you do is you start off in an X-like shape, and then your right arm crosses across your body as if a phantom were moving your arm, ghostly. The hand tracks across the opposite arm, and at a certain point, that scapulothoracic joint pulls the rib cage around. Aren't you glad we spent some time on Spine Week rotating your spine? The arm pulls and pulls and pulls you until you end up rolled over. Now I got caught in a knot here, as you can see. But from here, wherever you get caught, some of you might actually roll all the way over and get splat, but it's okay if you're caught in a knot. Then this top leg starts to reach back in the opposite direction, moving in slow motion and articulating the foot, knee, femur, hip, spine, shoulder girdle, and splat. And going in the other direction. I'm going to go a little bit faster in this other direction. Left arm crosses across, reaches as far as it can. Remember your obliques? They are going to need to turn on here in order to help you. Even though this is passive, things are obviously working. And then rolling onto your side, getting caught up in a little knot. Then the left foot initiates the movement. It's as if there's a string attached to the foot and pinky, and it reaches away and it spins out, and the femur is connected to the ilia, the pelvis slits down, the spine rolls, and then finally the arm, shoulder, and head. And there you have it. Rollover and dead. Do that 2 or 3 times each side, or 2 or 3 times completely. Roll to be whole. Now let's recheck. Right arm reaches across And lo and behold, it's so interesting, all that slow motion movement, and now I actually have more muscular force to reach across. Let's see if my weaker side has a little bit more, and it does too. I'm further down on my pants, and I feel more fibers in the right internal abdominal oblique wake up. It's so funny how these things work. When we slow down our body, when we dive into some of the relaxation response, often we get even a better output. So I hope you've enjoyed these last 6 weeks of embodiment, embodying your body, embodying your mobility, and becoming more aware of the small stuff and the big stuff. Congratulations, players. You've rolled to be whole. Your whole life is challenged now in a new way. May you walk forward brighter, stronger, and more whole than ever before. It was great meeting you.